Hi, this is Stan Houston for Obviously What It Takes for many people and the Christian Entrepreneur. The Christian Entrepreneur is a new movement that many of us are putting together because we think it's vital both for the marketplace and for the world that those of us who feel very strongly about the Christian faith and the entrepreneurial movement should have a voice to be seen and to be supportive of one another. We've gone through 6 principles of this emerging idea. Now it's principle number 7, the final one. And if it's important, it needs to be heard. So we decided to also put this online on the video so that you can hear it. Again, if it's important, perhaps it's good to be heard. There's a story that I just recently heard that Billy Graham has expressed to one of his friends a little bit of a regret about his life. And what could that be? It said that he kind of reflected on maybe if he had to do it over again, he wouldn't hold these big, huge meetings all around the world. Perhaps, he said, I should have just really invested my life in the teaching, the discipleship, the working with 12, 13, 14 men and women. Small group. Well, you know, there was somebody else who had that idea about changing the world. And that got me to think. It really helped me think about Principle 7, which I've been going for the whole time. One of my colleagues in the coaching business, his name is Danny Ivy, wrote a little book a few years ago that went something like this: Teach and Grow Rich. Teach and Grow Rich is obviously a takeoff on the Napoleon Hill's famous book, Think and Grow Rich. Now, Danny wasn't saying that if you're a teacher, you'll get rich in terms of money, but his terms and his position is if you really want to gain riches in ideas, in influence, in friendships, and thoughtfulness, and perhaps even in income, teach and grow rich. I believe he's onto something significant. I think we're all called to be teachers. One of the things that we did is we took the teaching idea and we made it into a profession. You got to be accredited, you have to be certified, you have to be stamped by the state, and if you aren't, you can't teach. What a silly idea. Teaching historically has never been a professional role. It has been a position of leadership and responsibility in the community. And we need to get back to that. One of my friends is a strong Jewish scholar, and in a book I recently read by him, he says this. He talks about the fact that in many of the Jewish circles, there are certain words that you should say just before you die. That a good Jew should say something very specific just before he dies. Have you heard that story? Perhaps if you have, what are the words that a faithful Jew should say just before they die? Well, it got me to be thinking, what should I say before I die? Obviously, I may not have any control over that, but if I did, what would be my final words? Great question. I still don't know. I'm thinking about that. What would be my final word? What would I want the final words that someone heard and remembered from me? What would I want them to be? I'd love to hear from you. Now, with that in mind, the final words of Jesus, particularly in the account in Matthew, if I can paraphrase it into modern languages, he says, okay guys, let's do it. I want you to go out there in the whole wide world, the whole web out there. And I want you to teach, and I want you to train, and I want you to coach, and I want you to mentor, and I want you to help men and women do good things. Do the stuff that I taught you to do. Become the kind of people I asked you to become, and achieve the great things that I said that you could do. Remember, I said you could do everything I couldn't do. Do it. That's good news. Go teach it. Here's my point. Principle number 7 for the coaching entrepreneur is this: be a teacher. be a teacher, be a mentor, be a guide. Care for and share your wisdom, your understanding, and your experience with others. That's the deal. It's not negotiable. You are called to do it. It's part of being a human being, it's part of being an entrepreneur, and it's part of being a Christian entrepreneur. I'm still preaching to a lot of lonely people who don't get it yet, but I continue to remind you, if you want to live out the principles of being a Christian entrepreneur, number 7, go and teach. Thank you.